I'm 44 years old today. My story begins at age 29. I'm getting clean off of Oxycontin, alcohol, morphine, Xanax, and Klonopin. Here's a quick rundown of how I got here. At age 10, I began my self-development journey. At age 12, I left my church. At age 13, I began drinking. At age 14, my family moved me from Canada to Montana. At age 15, I started experimenting with every drug available. At age 16, I found snowboarding and shamanism, or rather, they found me. From ages 17 to 19, I lived on the road with 2 other guys and a dog, traveling the US, competing in snowboard events and working at resorts. At age 20, I landed in Park City, Utah, where I fell in love. By age 23, I was married with a son. And by age 25, we had lost a son. We had gotten divorced. I lost my house, my car, my job. I bounced back and 5 years later had a clothing company worth almost $500,000. Due to my addiction along with the housing market crash, I lost everything again. So between ages 10 and 29, I have seen 3 shamanic initiatory crises. Which brings us to the beginning of this story. I'm getting clean by myself with no coach, no rehab center, no AA. It's time to start hacking my own consciousness. And one day I have this realization. Our brains are like computers. Computers operate on computer language. Humans operate on human language. Negative self-talk and misbeliefs are, in shamanic terms, called spells. In software terms, they could be called viruses. Viruses on a computer can slow down and interrupt the natural process and keep it from running efficiently. If the virus isn't handled sooner than later, it can spread to other parts of the computer and eventually shut it down completely. Isn't it interesting that we call ourselves shut down when we have been allowing negative programs or spells to run too long? The first time I noticed that my inner dialogue was not healthy was when I spent an entire day making all my friends laugh and feel better. But when I put my head down on the pillow at night, all I could hear was my mind telling me everything that I wasn't, all of the failures, all of the fears and concerns about tomorrow, and how I was going to be stuck here forever. I realized if I can make everyone else smile and feel better, then I must have that ability to do that for myself. Why can't I? And I realized it was just habits. Some of the language that I was exposed to from my friends, social media, and a lot of the language I had picked up growing up. So it was time to defrag, release, and get rid of these viruses. In other words, I had to learn to hack my own consciousness or fall. I'd come to a place where external dangers and challenges didn't really faze me anymore, but the ones inside of me posed a clear and present danger. I had had it with beating myself up. The audiobook I Can Do It by Louise Hay spoke deep truth to me, but did so in a gentle way. This was truly the beginning of my next journey. I listened to her book every single day for 30 days when I woke up and when I went to bed. I began to catch my internal dialogue and be able to shift it in the moment. Next, I noticed my external dialogue was changing as well. Emotionally and physically, I could feel that I was aligning myself. I started to become more calm, more in tune, more connected, and receiving spiritual downloads. Sometimes we're not as lost as we think we are. Sometimes we're a beautiful light that's just under a mountain of baggage, and it's our job to clear away that which is not useful, or in other words, unlearning. Many times we're trying to stack more data into the hard drive, not realizing it's already full. And it would actually do us a greater service to be deleting files instead of adding files. In shamanism, anytime we can get ourselves to believe something that is not true, that is called a spell. And we can release spells with truth. Oftentimes we judge ourselves because we have negative emotions or we've made some mistakes in the past, so we identify with these things. We tell ourselves we are a bad person. And what I find interesting is, on the hero's journey, we will make mistakes. And every hero in every movie has made mistakes. But yet, we forget to be the hero of our own story. All we're doing is experiencing these things. We experience negative emotions. We experience mistakes, but we are not those things. We are the exact opposite. We are love. We are soul. We are spirit, inhabiting a human body, having a human experience, sometimes making human mistakes. Coming back to spirit is just a matter of remembering who you are and letting go of what you're not. At the time, I was struggling with ADD and my mind was all over the place. I couldn't remember my affirmations. I couldn't remember the things I wanted to affirm. So I just bought a journal and started writing them down. I buy a journal and literally write things I don't like about myself on the front. Not from a space of judgment, but from a space of things that I get to heal and look at and be accountable about. Knowing full well I'm going to write a positive affirmation for them later, and then I'm going to focus on that. So that one seems pretty easy, and actually I use this tool now, which some call taking inventory. It's as simple as writing a list of things that bother you and leaving a space below each item. Cross that item out and write a positive affirmation underneath it. So let's say I'm late to work all the time. I would write that down, and then the opposite would be, I am working to be on time, or I am respectful of other people's time. Or next, I would say, I spend too much money. I would cross that out and below it and write, I am wise with my abundance. Or let's say I lose my temper. I would write, I am creating a space for peace. Now the breakthrough was when I went the other direction. When I started writing down things like, I am creative, that's something I know about myself, and it's an easy thing to write because I know it's true. Or I would write, I am loving. This is a wonderful practice to use when you wake up and you do feel well. Make a list of all the things that are beautiful in your life as affirmations. I call this a list of checkpoints. But one day I wrote, I am abundant, and I heard this buzzer go off and I could feel my body tense up. So I said it again, I am abundant. I felt resistance, and I thought to myself, what is this I'm experiencing? I haven't experienced a lot of resistance to any of these positive affirmations before. And lo and behold, I realize it's not money that's the problem. It's my emotional response to money that is the problem, which then became a model for how I looked at everything. This other person isn't the problem. It's how I'm responding to this person. My past isn't the problem. It's how I'm responding to my past. And the only thing that's making a problem or a blessing is whatever emotion I'm assigning to it. All of the events I'm assigning negative emotions to, I'm labeling as curses. And every event that I'm assigning positive emotions to, I'm labeling as a blessing. But all the events are neutral, and it's how I'm responding to them. It's what's changing my vibration. And I don't have any control over the event. I only have control over my emotions and my vibration. And nobody has control over me but me. And if I don't have any control over me, then who does? And again, if I can make everyone else smile and feel better, then I must be able to do that for myself. So rather than processing money, I started to process my emotions. What are the negative emotions I have about it? And then I would cross each one out one at a time and then write the antithesis of them and then make that into my affirmation. I didn't want to lie to myself. So instead of writing, I am abundant, I would write, I am accepting of abundance. I create a space for abundance. I enjoy the things I can create for my children with abundance, and so on. And then I didn't have any resistance to it. And those were the first couple of steps of Form 1. And I practiced this for 30 days. Not long after that, I'm scrolling through YouTube and I see a video about alchemy, about people who used to try to turn lead into gold. And that's when I have the moment of, okay, that's what we're doing. We are energetically transmuting lead into gold, fear into love, challenge into wisdom. And even though people had taught me this is possible, I had never once found a formula for it. I remember joking about how everyone would say, when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. And I would say, well, where's the recipe? Everybody seemed to have an idea for it, but nobody could explain it to me. And now I had figured it out. And best of all, it was simple, easy, and it only took a few minutes a day. And those few minutes a day could change my day, or the status of my relationship, or the status of my career. Small shifts were making big changes. So I would find it somewhat ironic that the affirmation regarding abundance was a direct contributor to me finding out how to transmute lead into gold, aka abundance. Albert Einstein said it himself, energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only transform. Which means that there has to be an alternative to PTSD, Instead of post-traumatic stress, there must be some kind of post-traumatic transmutation that we can create. Or after traumatic experiences and a lot of care and a lot of healing, that we can actually grow and build our character from these events. Lead is like a negative emotion. It's heavy, it's not very valuable, and it will poison you if you carry it long enough. And then look at the similarities between gold and positive emotions. It's bright, shiny, valuable, and malleable. You can do a lot of different things with it. Positive emotions and wisdom gained from overcoming challenges is the gold. This very recording that we're listening to right now is me transmuting my past into something that can benefit others. I, for one, had been carrying plenty of lead bricks from my childhood, my teens, and even my adult years. And I was ready to either put them down or turn them into something valuable. And the more lead we have, the more gold we can create.